Cycling for me has never been about the bikes. They've only ever been the prerequisite tool. I do not see just a bike race, I see riders on heroic journeys and warriors doing battle. At one point, cycling was the most popular sport in Europe because newspapers told magnificent tales about epic races and crafted the great champions into legends. But with the advent of television, cycling lost some of its mystique, and that golden age of journalism and narration has perished. So now let us try to return some romance to the beautiful sport. Let us praise and give glory to phenomenal performances to be remembered for decades to come. Let us dwell on the moments that inspire and move us. Let us chronicle the rise and fall of heroes. Let us chart these life-changing journeys, these cycling odysseys. All right, welcome back to another episode of the Cycling Odysseys. I'm your host, Patrick Santino. Today, we are previewing Paris-Nice. So, as usual, we'll jump into a description of the race for anybody that's new, needs to know. And then I will quickly run through the stages and the start list and just give very quick thoughts. I'm going to try to keep this one super short just to experiment with it a little bit. So, with that, let's jump in. The Paris-Nice, a perfect combination. We all have our favorite races on the calendar. The Paris-Nice is one of mine. In fact, of all the week-long stage races sprinkled throughout the calendar, this one is my absolute favorite. It sports one of the best nicknames in cycling, the Race to the Sun, even if it does not always live up to such a name. And its general itinerary is always the same. Perhaps it is tightly bound by its title. Or perhaps it knows it has found a winning formula. In former eras, this was a race used by the top men to ease back into racing at the season's beginning. But tell that not to Monsieur Paris-Nice, Sean Kelly. King Kelly, the greatest cyclist Ireland's ever known, won the race a record 7 times, all in succession from 1982 through 1988. And say nothing of warm-ups to these modern men of cycling either. This is the first European World Tour stage race of the season. Already, much is at stake. For many World Tour teams, all World Tour points are vital, and this provides another early opportunity to amass a respectable haul of points to help set the team on a good trajectory for the rest of the season. For many French riders, it is an early objective of pride to do well on home roads. For many Grand Tour contenders, this is the first big appointment of the season to not only build form, but start the season off well with some good results. The beauty of this race is that it is so balanced. There are enough opportunities to attract the top sprinters to achieve some well-earned victories. There is also a time trial for the riders to see how they stack up compared to their rivals against the clock. And as they go further south, there are some proper mountain stages for the climbers to target and the Grand Tour men to come to the fore and foreshadow the duels to come in the Summer Grand Tours. Ideally, on a cold and wet and wind-howling Sunday, the riders bundle up to start this hardman's race in a suburb or outskirting village of Paris. Like with opening weekend, on stage 1 of the Paris-Nice, let us root for a traditional brutal weather start to the Race to the Sun. May the March Lion, not yet, transform into the March Lamb. May the riders put on their thermal jerseys and pants to keep the core and pistons warm, thick shoe covers and gloves to avoid frostbitten appendages, and under the helmet may they fit a winter casquette that covers the ears nicely while the brim combats the elements trying to obscure their views. Yes, make the riders yearn for the sun to come in a week's time. The furthest north at this time of year is the best chance for such a stage as this, and it starts the race off right with harrowing ordeals of wind and rain. Oh, how enduring and endearing it is when a hardman of the classics or a sprinter made of stern stuff celebrates the victory in some horrid winter conditions. Not only does it make for a good addition to the riders' palmares, the brutal cold stages provide stories to help flesh out the champion's legendary aura. And they are essential tales to be incorporated into the Race to the Sun's pantheon of immortal rides. Typically, the next couple of stages are still in the flat north of France. These too can be biting cold days, and it is quite a spectacle when they are. But ideally, What comes about on these flat transitional stages, and note, the organizers definitely seek out and design their routes looking for the best chance of this phenomenon, are crosswind battles. Yes, if the cold, harsh weather start near Paris was not enough, in an ideal Paris-Nice, the opening cold shock is backed up by 1 or 2 days of ravaging crosswinds. Oh, when the winds come at the riders from the side, how the peloton transforms into aero formations of such beauty they rival the instinctual aerial armadas of avian flocks migrating between the famous latitudes of the globe. Yes, to see an image of echelons, group after group, lined across the road horizontally, while vertically up the road is the stronger group a rung higher on this imaginary ladder, is one of the most beautiful sights in cycling. As stated, the echelons, the rungs of an imaginary ladder, look tranquilly beautiful from a landscape distance away. But oh, how fierce the battles are inside, to hold one's ground amidst the pack. Surely, they are the most cutthroat of battles cycling can serve up. Should you not have the skill or strength to ride the winds and hold ranks in the group, a rider is agonizingly spit out the back until absorbed into another echelon behind. May those who cannot stomach the crosswinds not even craft general classification aspirations for this race. Either grow in fortitude or forsake your challenge now. For if you perform not well in the crosswinds, expect to lose minutes on these harrowing days. And though it is no surprise the Quickstep team have been the foundation shakers in the crosswinds for a score of years, Classic's prowess or build of body is not a prerequisite. There is something more to riding the crosswinds. Perhaps most, it is tenacious guts and positioning craft that are required. For not all the big unit riders who lay down the most serious watts have a knack for the crosswinds. While in every generation, one tiny Colombian GC rider proves to have the courage and the right stuff to mix it up with the hardmen and big engines of the classics who lick their lips every time the wind blows across. Whether the crosswinds materialize or not each year, these northern flat stages are also verdant pastures for the top sprinters to take their first World Tour European stage victories of the year. Oh, how surely important they are to the psyches and confidence of these hot-handed sprinters' egos. Always they wish to continue to rack up the sprint wins and avoid periods of dreaded droughts where they then lose their fine mental edge. As the race travels further south and comes within sight of the northernmost marches of the French Alps, the GC race begins to kick into high gear if the crosswinds have not already dashed pretenders' dreams. It is usually a fair test against the clock, a proper time trial instead of a prologue that packs a punch, or afterthought chrono that wraps up the race with a frivolous bow. And yet, the TT is never overbearingly decisive. The TT only sets the stakes for the high mountains that decide the race's finish. Who is up 30 or 40 seconds on GC? Who must recover a minute 20 in the mountains that they ship to their competitors against the clock or in the crosswinds? Usually, another fine feature on one of the middle days of the race to the sun is an archetypal breakaway stage. Oh, may the greatest escape artists come out to play. On a lumpy, but not so extremely decisive day, may the breakaway specialists flex their muscles and show off their chops. Give me the audacious lone wolf who is ready to roll the dice and attack his breakaway competitors as their energy wanes and the peloton ratchets up the pace behind. How thrilling it is to see one man narrowly hold off a peloton bearing down on him after a long, enduring day in the saddle. Yes, to be a breakaway specialist takes something special. Copious amounts of grit. They are a rare breed. Less than a handful of reliably successful breakaway specialists arise each generation. But as I said, by the time the race has set the GC storyline with the TT and sometimes before the classic hilly breakaway stage, the race to the sun is eyeing the Alps. Some years, they find a brutal stage in France's northern Alps. So far north, inland, an untraveled local might mistake an oar for a shovel. Still far from the Mediterranean coast are they. Such stages as these are always surely gambles, for in March, many of these villages have not yet thought to pack away their heaviest winter coats for the season. Yes, tough tests are these mountain stages in the elements as the race experiments and explores the climbs off the beaten path. The route goes up and down all day, weaving up the narrow climbs which are often steep but not too long, for surely the tops of the grueling giants seen at July's tour are still snowed in. And yet these new explorations can prove good tests for future features to be incorporated on that ultimate stage race in July. Meanwhile, soon the race finally starts to reach, if not the sun, at least warm weather. For the last 2 or 3 days, none shall have pants and few even knee warmers. Many arms shall only have short sleeves, for the body will be quite warm as it fires on all cylinders up proper high southern alpine climbs. Yes, there is usually at least 1 or 2 traditional, full, high mountain stages with a proper summit finish worthy of a grand tour. Surely the hope is that it affects or shakes up the GC. But in a fine edition of Paris-Nice, the race is not decided until it reaches its destination namesake. In the past, it was tradition for the Paris-Nice not just to finish with a final road race into Nice, one of its title towns, but it would also do a final TT up the Col d'Ez climb to fully wrap up the race. King Kelly and Irishman Tour de France winner Stephen Roche were so dominant in that TT, the Col d'Ez has become known as Irish Mountain. The climb itself is a tough brute. There are legendary stories of the intense roller warm-ups after already completing a road stage that same morning. And what was the ideal gearing to haul oneself up to the top proved quite an intricate science. As one predisposed to embracing tradition, I mourn that the race has scrapped this illustrious TT. And though I would not mind if they found a place for the Col d'Ez TT once more, perhaps even have 2 stages in one day that are now so rare for the riders hate them oh so much, I must say I love the new traditional final stage the organizers have crafted. You have seen in recent years how in the Grand Tours, the organizers have served up a mighty 200-plus kilometer high mountain stage on a Saturday, followed by a short and thrilling mountain stage on Sunday, only some 120 kilometers long that leads to unbridled and uncontrollable racing filled with GC coups and ambushes. The Grand Tour organizers have copped the idea from this new traditional Paris-Nice finish. After a hard and often long or high altitude mountain stage on the penultimate day, the final stage takes place around all of the most famous climbs, walling in the coastal Mediterranean city of Nice. Nice is a home base for a large percentage of professionals. So, this explosive stage takes place all over the climbs they know like the back of their hand. With usually 6 or 7 proper climbs packed into only some 120 kilometers of racing, there is not a meter of flat, and the team leading on GC shall have their hands very full trying to maintain control of the race. If the GC is under a minute or even 90 seconds, this stage is perfect ambush territory for a GC rival to attempt a successful race coup. Their teammates set a relentless pace from the beginning of the day. The leader himself breaks away mid-stage to attempt to steal a long breakaway escape. Behind, what is left of the GC leader's team tries to ride more controlled and keep the gap within a margin of the team leader's lead. In more years than not, this day is sopping the riders with buckets of rain. So much for the race to the sun. And that makes the race all the more difficult to control. This race has been so close, decided sometimes only by 2 or 4 seconds, it comes down to who pedals the hardest or gets into the fastest aero position on the final descent into the finish line in Nice. This last genuine day of racing has often taken the GC race down to the absolute final wire or turned the race on its head. This finish has so often delivered a great, thrilling final spectacle. It is the perfect ending that makes the Paris-Nice my favorite week-long stage race. After the harsh beginnings in the cold and or crosswindy northern stages ending in memorable epic days or ferociously fast sprints, through the skirmishes and battles of breakaway and GC affairs and the time trial in mountains going ever further south, to this final day where it is not over until the fat lady sings, Paris-Nice proves to be an ideal complete race, an odyssey with everything that always provides and produces great champions and future stars. All right, as I said, Paris-Nice, one of my favorite races of the year. I really, 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 really love that last Sunday in Nice. It's more often than not total showstopper, pretty awesome, pretty sweet. So, with that said, I was looking through the stages, and it does match up pretty much to my description, which will not be the case for Torino, which is also going on this week because they decided to shake it up. All right, whatever. Anyways, I'll get to that at a later date. So let's see. So stage 1, flat but lumpy finish. Vinart territory maybe, but then I looked at the start list after I wrote that, and Wout's not going to have it all his own way. All right, so stage 2, flat, south, all one direction, hopefully crosswinds, because if it is, I mean, if the wind's coming across, then, it's going to be there all day, so we'll see. Either way, hopefully good sprint at the end because there's a stacked field, that's all I'll say. Stage 3, entirely south again. First half's flat, second half looks kind of Ardennes-y. I wrote down Wout victory again. Stage 4, 13-kilometer individual time trial. Might be a fair test. Not really sure what to expect. I also wrote Wout domination, I guess. Stage 5, mountain stage. 3 Cat 1s, 1 Cat 2, and some uncategorized thing that could easily be a Cat 3 before final descent into the finish. So look out for that. That should be an interesting day. Definitely, that's a GC battle. Honestly, I kind of wish that one came before the time trial. But that's just me, I guess. Whatever. I don't know. Wout could easily be in the leader's jersey going into the time trial, so I guess that would be kind of fine. All right, and then as opposed to some sprinter like Sam Bennett. All right, stage 6, tricky breakaway day. 3 Cat 2s, 2 Cat 3s, another descent into the finish, and the breakaway artist of his generation. Songbird of breakaways, Thomas DeGent is here. So, could he have this one written down, triple circled? We'll see. All right, stage 7, that's the summit finish to the Col de Torini. Again, I'm not super in love with this climb, but it does the job well enough for this race, I guess. They've used it a couple times, and then this is the one that was on that stage 2 of the 2020 tour in Nice, but it was early on in the stage. It wasn't towards the end. All right, but I mean, it's a proper climb. It's 15K, 7%. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I guess they were rating it category 1. It could, category 1's fair, yeah. All right, and then stage 8 is my beloved Nice circuit. So, well, it's not really a circuit, but a loop around Nice. So, 3 Cat 2s, and then it finishes with 2 Cat 1s, the last being the Col d'Ez, before the epic final descent back into Nice, which can be very, very crucial. So that's that. All right, so those are the stages. Let me just run through what I saw on the start list. So just going in order. I saw for Bora, Schachmann and Bennett, both probably could use a good race here. Schachmann is awkwardly the defending champion because Roglic dislocated his shoulder like twice on the last day last year, and so then he got dropped by everybody, and everybody had to give him turns, behind because they felt bad for him. But up ahead, Schachmann couldn't abandon all his rivals, and he just ended up winning. So there's that. Cofidis, Guillaume Martin, he started his season well. Cocard, even better. All 3 stages could be good shots for Cocard, besides that the competition's pretty loaded. Let's see. Oh, the Jumbo team itself, the entire thing's loaded. So just to rattle off, Primoz Roglic, Rowan Dennis, Steven Kruijswijk, Christophe Laporte, Mike Tunison, Wout van Aert, and Nathan Van Hooijdonk. So that is that's what you call stacked. Should be deadly every single day. Then, what do we got? Quintana for Arkea Samsic. Ineos is going to be led by Adam Yates. Ethan Hayter might be interesting to watch. Danny Martinez in the mountains to help Yates or go himself. I don't know. He might have won on the Torini one year in Paris-Nice in 2019 maybe. I remember that. They have Van Barle and Rowe, so they'll be ready for the crosswinds as well. Let's see. Bahrain, we got Haig for GC with Mater support. Then again, Wout Poels is there too, so maybe he could still ride GC. Colbrelli for stage wins for sure. And then Groupama, you got Gaudu for GC. Stefan Kung still on flying form. Give him absolute free reign to do whatever he wants, besides even just the time trial. Hopefully, he shouldn't even focus on a time trial right now. Just try to win the first 3 days. It's like, whatever. Time trials, I can come back to that anytime. Spring Classics are only in the spring. So, UAE, Brandon McNulty, I think is leading it, but no. João Almeida's here too, so they have to at least share leadership. And then they got Trentin for stage wins. AG2R, we got Ben O'Connor for GC, Nassen and DeWolf to mix it up in the stages, but I don't know. I'm sorry, I don't really have confidence in either of those guys. Ben O'Connor, I do, but Nassen and DeWolf, I don't know. They just don't. Nassen doesn't have any luck. DeWolf is, I don't know, might make most of what he has, but he just doesn't have the talent, I guess, of some other guys, I would say. Anyways, Trek, they got Malama for GC, but is he over the hump? Are we ready to declare that? I don't know. Or did he win a tour stage last year? And I wrote like a whole report on it. Did he win it? I think he won it. All right, whatever. They also got Stuyven and Pedersen, so they could be fun for any of the Classics East stages. Yeah. All right, quick step. Jakobsen's here with Morkov. That means Sam Bennett ain't winning any sprints at this race, so he's not going to get off to a good start. But does this also mean that Jumbo tries to rip Jakobsen's legs off for Wout van Aert? I don't know. These are the questions. Simon Yates for Bike Exchange. Rare brother versus brother action possible. Could we see it? They're both the team leaders too. That's the thing. I think they've raced each other before, but have they both been the outright GC team leaders? I don't think that's happened very often, if at all, yet. All right. Against the only thing that's jumping out at me for Lausdal, I guess Philippe Gilbert's here too, but nobody else is jumping out. And Philippe Gilbert, I don't know. We'll be excited for him at Milan San Remo, of course, but I don't know. He hasn't shown anything. I'm sorry. I'm sad to say. Anyways, to get for that breakaway stage, or literally the whole DSM team. Except Case Bowl. He can sprint, I guess. But can he win sprints? I think he won a Paris-Nice sprint last year, though. So maybe he can. I don't know. But everybody else could be good in a breakaway. All right. Bissiger for the time trial for EF. Latour for Total Energies in the mountains. No Sagan in that lineup. So I guess he's going to Torino, I would assume. Hopefully. All right. And then Intermarché. Didn't love anything I was seeing there. Oh, besides Gourmet. But he's going to have a big sprint competition. So, I don't know. Actually, and I love all of Intermarché. They're my underdog team. They're becoming my underdog team. So, yeah. Even the kind of ugly highlighter colors on the jersey growing on me. All right. And then the only other one I wanted to comment on was Jasper Philipsen here for Alpecin. 2 wins at UAE. Can he just keep it rolling? Even top Jakobsen here. We'll see. We will see. That's the fun thing to watch in the sprints. But I don't know how many days the sprinters are really going to get. It might only be 2. So it's kind of weird that everybody's kind of coming here. Or not everybody. Definitely not everybody's here, but a lot of good names are here. So, yeah. And with that, I would say that's the Paris-Nice preview. Follow me, Cycling Odysseys. Subscribe to the show. Find the blog posts. What else do I say? Leave 5-star reviews, comments, subscribe. Thanks for listening, everybody. Vive la cyclisme.